All right, so this is an extra video just talking about the spoilers.
How can we not?
Yeah, it's one of those things where, we don't want to give it away for people that haven't seen it, but at the same time, it's some of these spoilers you got to talk about because they really do make a big impact on this movie and whether or not you like it or you don't like it. So this is total spoilers. This is giving away so much.
If you haven't seen the movie yet, don't bother watching this because we're just going to go through every single spoiler and you're just going to be very angry.
Okay, so the biggest one, the big twist that we're saying is going to piss everybody off is the Mandarin, the Ben Kingsley character that they're building up is going to be the
Didn't piss me off.
It's going to be the great big badass in this movie. He's on the poster. He's got the shades. He's there. He's saying, you will die and stuff like that. Is just an actor. He's just a pawn. In fact, he's actually like Tony Moore.
Yeah,
from Arthur.
Tony Stark calls him Ringo at one point, and I thought that was brilliant because he does sound kind of like Ringo.
And they make him the most pathetic bitch, and it's funny. It's very funny.
It's hilarious, and the funny thing is, like
Kingsley is so fucking funny.
The way some people are just like, how could you take a steaming dump on that character? I did not see that coming. I was like, really? Because from the get-go, I was like, what accent is that? Where is he from?
Good editing on this terrorist video, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just like, I really was like, they have to explain this at some point because this does not make any sense. And I thought the payoff in the sense that they explain why this looks so bizarre was great. I thought it was hilarious.
And on top of that, with the commentary, I think they often have, it's not that these bombings are planned, it's that this device they've created that's supposed to fix limbs but is unstable is blowing people up randomly.
So they need to come up with some
they need excuse. A reason, so they make up a terrorist. Now that's really clever and really funny, and I think it's a great commentary on media, the use of the media.
Yeah, now the problem is, and this is what I was saying in the review, is that the initial twist is great, it's hilarious, and you're like, okay, so he's a total fake, which means there's another much more evil villain somewhere. Now, where's the payoff? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Guy frickin' Pearce is the payoff. And
Snooty overbite.
Guy Pearce is never a payoff. Never.
Poor Guy Pearce.
Anybody who ever, any screenwriter out there, listen to me. If you think your payoff's gonna be Guy Pearce, no, don't do it. It's a trap. But oh my god, it goes nowhere. So that's what I was saying. It's like you're being shown a football game, and then all of a sudden they turn the football game off, and you're like, what the hell? And you're like, no, we're gonna show you the best hockey game you've ever seen. It's gonna be crazy. And then they show you Disney on Ice. It's like that twist was so great. I was like, oh, this is gonna be nuts. And then this is like, oh, and so our backup villain is Guy Pearce.
And go ahead.
And the other thing is, a lot of people are going nuts because they're just like, well, Mandarin's just such a cool character, and he's so amazing, and to see what they did, it's just a big F you to the, Marvel fans and this and that. Hey, if that's your stance, I totally respect that. I get why you would be angry. If I were attached to Mandarin, I would be like, what the hell? Here's the thing, and I explained this on my Facebook, I'm not. I never, as a kid reading Iron Man in the 80s, thought Mandarin was an interesting villain. I never got it. Do you know anything about Mandarin?
Not a thing.
Okay, so I have to go way back. I have not touched an Iron Man comic since 1993. So as far back as I can remember, if I'm remembering this right.
I always wanted to be a gangster.
Yeah, I always wanted to be a gangster. As far back as I can remember, Mandarin grew up in pre-revolutionary communist, pre-communist China. And his parents were wealthy or something. And then the revolution happens. I think in one storyline his sister dies or something. Point being, he goes out and finds this crashed alien ship or something, or alien technology from...
Well, obviously.
Yeah, from some planet like Klaatu, Barada, Nictu, I can't remember the name, and it's like alien dragon technology. And...
There's alien dragons? That actually sounds awesome.
It was something like, if I'm remembering right, I'm sure we'll get 1,000 comments, I'm like, no, it wasn't quite that, but I'm trying to remember something from like 20 years ago in my life, okay? And then he basically gets these 10 rings of power. It's like
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, so he has these 10 rings and each one does something, different, and that's kind of cool. But in the end, you have somebody that is like half Fu Manchu, half wizard running on magic, but it's alien technology, so he's
alien magic.
Yeah, so he's like half tech scientist, half like wizard because it's practically magic. It was not one of Stan Lee's greatest ideas, okay?
Okay, I gotta tell you,
bizarre.
just from that description, that sounds awesome, but not in Iron Man. Not in a movie.
It was ridiculous. I mean, even as a kid, I just was like, I didn't get it. And I still don't. I was like, it was just weird. So, I mean, for me, the fact that they took something that would, in my opinion, would not have worked in a movie. At least not in Iron Man. Where
not the Iron Man they've said.
Yeah, where they've kept this pretty much magic and stuff out of it. And we did introduce aliens through...
I was going to say, we did have aliens
We did have aliens in the Avengers, but... I can't even describe why I feel that would work better than Mandarin would, but there's just something about Mandarin's backstory that just struck me as very desperate.
Well,
I respect Stan Lee so much, but not every idea can be brilliant, and that was one of the more, in my opinion, it felt kind of a little desperate to me, like 10 Rings of Power, Fu Manchu, weird. I mean, he looked like Shang Tsung, if I remember right, from Mortal Kombat. He had like his long robe in some of the comics, and so for me, I would never be able to take that seriously in an Iron Man movie to begin with. And I get the impression that the screenwriter and the director or whatever had the same...
movie, yes.
Yeah, and I feel that their answer around that was to go, well, we'll just make him ridiculous because you can't take this guy seriously to begin with. So that didn't bother me. Now, if your point of view is Mandarin is an awesome character and I would totally take that seriously and screw you, Rob... Hey, fine by me. I'm like, I would be pissed. I would be totally pissed.
It is creating a totally new character.
Yeah, it is creating a new character. It's not even creating a new character. It's basically dumping on the character.
Yeah.
But it just didn't bother me because I was never attached to Mandarin to begin with. And it's a problem with most of Iron Man's villains is most of Iron Man's villains in the comics were not really all that interesting. And as we said, this shows because in the end, Obadiah Stane ended up being the best villain we've had in the trilogy. And that's...
It still has the funniest
pretty
name.
low, yeah. That set the bar pretty low, so.
And the other thing I think was sort of a big issue, again, just going back to, Stark just being sort of this emotional idiot now instead of getting smarter and smarter, is that, at first he says, I still don't know exactly what the Pantax are from, but he claims it's from wanting to protect Pepper Potts. And throughout this movie, he constantly gets her in danger. Like half the time, like she has to get the suit.
Cares about her so much. For me, the one that pissed me off the most was when he's just like, "I'm going to tell you where my home address is," and the first thing that happens as he walks through the door is Peppers has her suitcases ready to leave, and I'm like, yeah, if I were his girlfriend, that's totally what I would fucking do.
Like somebody comes up to his door, and it's like, "Oh, come on, we're supposed to have high tech security. I just threatened, terrorists and stuff." It's like. Yeah, no, that's legitimately stupid, you moron. But I'm like, he's trying to protect, Pepper Potts here, and half the time she has to save him. She gets the Iron Man suit on. At the very end, pretty much what happens is that the big fake out that we were talking about is that she's given this chemical that keeps blowing people up. But it grows back their limbs and stuff, and I guess the guy thinks he perfected it with her, maybe, or something, I don't know. But
the second he injected her, I already knew... I was like, okay, she is going to probably end up saving the day somehow because she has these superpowers and she's going to live no matter what.
So he's holding on to her. There's this great big fire of death at the bottom and, he either can't hold on or slips or something. She goes, wow, falls into the fire. Okay, and again, just to show what a fucking idiot, emotional idiot this guy is, he just sees her fall and goes, well... better have the climax. And he just walks off and fight like he's not even that upset.
Well, and kind of for that reason, I was just like,
obviously
yeah,
this is
sure.
real. I mean, so not only does the fake out not work, but he can't.
Enough.
They don't have the character commit to the person that he cares the most about. Apparently, it's having these panic attacks over. Apparently, is gone. Hell, wouldn't that bring on the ultimate panic attack? I mean, wouldn't he just be like, I mean, shouldn't he just like wail or
not
go
use
insane?
It all. The way she was used to begin with, they walked a very fine line of trying to say, no, we're going to do some girl power thing here, while at the same time being like,
they have
nah,
to save her all the time.
We're just going to do fanboy, like, this is total fan service. Like, they have her, like, basically in a sports bra strapped up to some sort of torture device through the last third of the movie, and I'm like... this is like, we can have your cake and eat it too. I'm just like, they're really just juggling this around as if they just like, well, we don't want to offend the horny boy demographic, but maybe we want a chick to see this movie. So, and that bothered me because there's one scene, the scene where he throws the suit on her, when the house is under attack because he advertised where their home address was while she was
Again,
home.
dumbass.
She gets like 10 seconds in that suit. And it's really cool. And I'm like, she obviously doesn't know how to power it. And I'm like, well, that's fair.
Yeah, and that
you know?
made for some good laughs.
You know,
too.
that made for some good laughs. I'm like, well, this is cool. I'm like, maybe she'll be in the suit by the end of the movie.
It did look cool.
Yeah, I was like, this is going to be really awesome. And instead, it's all of 10 seconds before Stark's like, all right, that's enough. And then basically, like, sucks the suit back to him, like, clunk, 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 clunk.
Well,
I'm
what-
like, that was like, that's it?
Okay,
Because I remember her, I remember reading an interview on the web, and she's like, yeah, I get to wear the suit, and it's really cool. And I was like, oh, well, that's going to be awesome. And then when it was done, I was like, 10 seconds, she'd better be in this suit again by the end of this
You know what made
movie,
this so much larger is if she thought he was dead, because they get separated.
And then she learns how to use the
No,
suit.
no, and she has the suit, and she has the big revenge, and he also has the big revenge, and she's going out kicking ass in the suit while he still does the exact same thing he did before, you know, rather than just her, you know, hide away, which if he was so concerned, he would still try to be making his way back to her to protect her. That
Well,
was
and
his
while
big
we're
goal.
talking about rewriting Iron Man 3, you know what else would have been awesome? Instead of Guy Pearce, the answer to nothing, the real villain should have been Stark's ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, they
Why
have this
didn't
character
do
they
that?
build out there.
I'm like,
and
you want
she
real?
kind of is.
Yeah, she kind
But-
of. Oh yeah, she basically she pulls a Lando Calrissian. She's like, I'm kind of the villain now, but I've got second thoughts, and then like Guy Pearce shoots her. But I mean, basically, it would have been so much cooler if she was the puppet master, if she were controlling Guy Pearce, and that basically what you would have there would be a much more interesting dynamic, because Guy Pearce just does the creepy, like, I'm gonna lord myself over Pepper Potts here, and you're gonna be my trophy. I was like, I've seen that in 1,000 action films. Would have been way cooler if it was the ex-girlfriend lording herself.
But then we might have Dark Knight Rises again, and remember where Bane is just a bitch the whole time, and he's like, oh, no, I'm the puppet. There's the puppet master.
Yeah, but there's a huge difference. Guy Pearce is not Bane.
Okay,
in no universe
I'm just saying that
are
wouldn't
people
have
gonna be like,
saved it.
it's not.
But
It wouldn't have saved the whole movie, but it's not like we're gonna sit here and be like, oh, that sucks. They made Guy Pearce a bitch.
yeah, I guess I would have
Say
been
that
that
out
let down.
loud.
Okay, yeah, I would have been that let down.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, so Guy Pearce is just Guy Pearce as he always is.
But the last thing I'll say before I finish off here is that what I'm seeing more and more is that the more and more emotionally stupid Stark gets, the more and more responsible Pepper Potts gets, because even though she does have to be saved a lot of the time, she also fights back a lot of the time. She delivers the finishing moves at the end, and it's pretty badass.
No,
And-
it is. It just,
and
but
I
it's
am
felt
wondering-
kind of shoehorned into me. Like, it's just like,
No, but I'm saying, why don't they take the, what she is learning and what she's figuring out and how she's putting stuff together,
Iron Man 4 is just going to be
responsibly.
Pepper Potts.
Well, I mean, it's whatever you're doing with her
Iron
is
Potts.
right. Whatever you're doing with her is right, except in 2 where she's like, this is too hard. Just give it to someone else. That was bullshit. But in this, it's
I
like...
remember that. Again, I remember nothing from 2.
I think that's what happened. And then it's like, you're not going to be in the Avengers. It's like, fuck you, yes I am. And then the Avengers came off. He's like, told you. So, again, just the Iron Man 2. But, here it's like, whatever you're doing with her in this movie, with having her kind of evolve and learn things and stuff like that, do that with Stark. Not just the technical. Have him actually do stuff and
that's
be
why-
smarter
okay,
emotionally and
From
take
a narrative
responsibility.
perspective, what has the biggest problems been? The villains suck. What is one of the reasons that the villains suck? No real connection to Stark. None. Obadiah Stane had the closest. He had worked with Stark all those years. He was jealous of Stark. And the reason I think he works as probably the best villain is until he puts on the damn suit, which was stupid.
He's known him for a while.
Yeah,
They had
that
a
first
connection.
2/3 of the movie is really creepy because he's basically just trying to kill Stark the whole way through. You get that tension between the two. But Mickey Rourke, what the hell was it? It's like, my daddy worked on something.
My dad
and
worked for your dad, and then here it's like, hey, you remember years ago that person I brought up? I think this is every person.
This is the exact same. By the way, the other thing that bothers me is going to that Iron Man 3. The villains, it's the exact same plot. It's like, you kind of did something to me a while ago, and I'm pissed off, and I'm coming back 10 years later.
Okay, you ever see like those creepy kids at cons that goes up to a celebrity? It's like, hey, you want to go out? You want to go out to get to dinner? Yeah, just meet me over there. And then the celebrity never shows up. That's your villain. Okay, it's the
Yeah.
guy that got really angry that, you know,
It's
the celebrity didn't take him out to dinner.
It's basically
Yeah,
the
that's
villain from The
exactly right.
Incredibles. I'm like, and when I saw that, I'm like, really? We're gonna go with The Incredibles plot? I love The Incredibles. I'm like, that was a
That's a
kid's show.
comedy!
Yeah, I'm like, you know, just some jolted fanboy. Like, but that's my point is there's no connection. Now, imagine if, now you'd have to rewrite this character, but I wouldn't go exactly the same way they did in Iron Man 3, but knowing Stark's womanizing, knowing how he's trying to be in a stable relationship with Pepper
It would be nice if
Potts,
it was an ex-girlfriend.
it would have been
so.
so awesome if it was an ex-girlfriend that has come back to frickin' haunt him. Like, all of his past sins come back at once and want to take him out. And can you imagine the angst between the ex and Pepper?
Yeah, and
the
Pepper Potts. Yeah, no, you
and
can
like
go with
between
that.
the between the three of them, I'm like, that would have been awesome. But no, we get Guy Pearce.
I think we have a script for Iron Man 4.
I
Just saying.
I think it's too late.
Probably, but if you need a
should have been an Iron
rewrite-
Man 3.
But if you need a rewrite, I'm Oprah now for some reason.
Yeah, the only other thing that's a spoiler is what bothers me. The one thing about the Ben Kingsley twist that did bother me, as funny as I thought it was, is the fact that they went with the 10 rings. That was the terrorist group in the first one, so it's just weird. It doesn't seem to have a connection with that group.
It's kind of like the League of Shadows again, the Dark Knight.
Yeah,
and
it
stuff.
was just, I thought that was just really strange. It was like, okay, so we're going to bring the 10 rings up again. I mean, it's obvious when they wrote Iron Man 1, they did not think the plot was going to go in the direction that 3 did. But by using the 10 rings again, I was like, yeah, this just seems kind of lazy to me. It's just like, and then in the end, it's all a big ruse. And I'm like, so what connection did this 10 rings have to the first 10 rings?
Yeah, it didn't even make a connection to Stark before.
Yeah. And
that's
again,
the
this is why
terrorist
if
group.
you do like
Why
Mandarin,
didn't they make a connection?
and if you do like Mandarin, and I didn't, but I get why if you do like Mandarin, why you'd be so pissed, because you saw the 10 rings in Iron Man 1, and you've waited 3 films, and then this is your payoff. So, again, didn't bother me, but I understand why people are pissed about it. But when they ask me, I'm just like, well, it didn't bug me, but I would understand if you really wanted to see Mandarin and waited 3 films for this, you'd be like, what the fuck?
So, that's our spoiler section, and hopefully we spoiled it for you.
I think the screenwriters did that already.
Good point. All right, take care, guys.